No, maybe I should. Maybe I should. Pay attention. The one more thing that I was thinking is again, and just as a final reminder, the importance here stuff, you know, forgetting the importance of everything else that I mentioned. And also, it didn't kind of start there. That was a mischaracterization I did. As I said, torture days are more common. The very event and we see small children bragging about hurting and mocking a victim of abuse for the word stop and is from 2025 early, talking about I think March 2025. None of this started. If nothing else, it got more civil as it went back. So that would be a mischaracterization that I did, and I just realized that midway through. Um, and honestly, I even mentioned this days precisely that how the drugs had stopped. So again, not even an excuse that I wouldn't report because as soon as those things were not as bad as it was, it was reported immediately by me as it was. So which they did in reverse. The fact that you saw yesterday the full torture drugs on me has the full weight of there is something that wasn't done. I said it wasn't done, and then it was done again after I mentioned in one of the videos that how much the drug crimes are by far the main effective thing because that passes a very clean impression that that's intended, that's by design. You want to cause the precisely this. The fact that again you go through all of those criminal methods, bizarre things, bypassing the simple possibility of stop doing crime, knowing that you report that the same way I just did, it adds up the very layer to what I'm talking about. And it's easy to just see this and think, okay, dumbasses. But you forget that so are mafia thugs, so is soldiers and war criminals and dictators and regimes, and they're also imbecile thugs. And doesn't mean that they're not harmful. You see the harm that goes for me every single day, and not just me, you see the baby, you see Chip. Chip's still locked up in a cage. Why? Because instead of going anywhere, when they throw a lot more drugs on me, we get here and she has to stay locked up. Let's try my shoe. They threw a shoe have underwear inside the bag because they threw shit drugs 2 days ago. The video is already on YouTube online for me to pull myself out of sleep. And that's very straightforward because I didn't change my food at all. Now, remember the burger that I showed at night? Yeah, maybe they'll say that the burger that they bought to me went back in time and went into my bowels the day before. But as I showed to you at night, that couldn't have caused that. Most importantly, my food habit is exactly the same. So, and we've seen them do that in other ways. You see them do that with Chip. You see how she touches her face with poo because they flew and you poo everywhere inside her cage. Or on a bus stop. Again, no change in food habit. Now I'm guessing the data was giving me for how it was before because she didn't have medicine anymore. The medicine's over and don't have the money to buy. Um, Again, none of this is funny or by any chance natural. This is essentially the crime. So yes, they're stupid, and yes, their stupidity is ridiculous. That being said, don't forget the real harm of the real crime and how much they actually affects more than just one person, even. But even if it was just one person, and at the end of the day, maybe they're gonna stick to the whole arguments about literally saying in the mist everything that I just said to you, the whole respect, and stuff like that. That I'm quite hopeful if I can only choose. That again, I really like to also see your face of any report or any reasonable person saying that. But um, in particular, and again, it's like down now, but regardless of that, and anyone's aware of this, simple person can just report this to any news service. Evidence is several places, evidence is everywhere through them. Whatever they are, that's the evidence. They all know, right? We don't see them telling small children, explain to small children how to say something close to me, and hope to live in the expectation that someone who is not this child wouldn't know that beforehand. Have you tried to explain a child to do something? Have you seen children in movies or anything else, like small children? So, yeah, I mean, and you got to see some of those. I try my best not to showcase the treatment to you. These days I'm being more flexible in that because I said it's more important to me to expose the crime than other things, and you're saying it. So, at the end of the day, yeah. So, again, that's what you're trying to say. So, and this is, to be fair, it's more of a setup, expecting more digital crimes in case they happen, because then you can just show what they're doing to the phone to you immediately. But ultimately, you know, and that's pretty much it. Mas a gente continua de falar. You have the criminals essentially lying in the back, having the mass conversation. That's really got. If that is relevant to me. Don't know. Having this general conversation exactly as am I talking here, which stopped the second that I stopped talking. Now again, that's hardly enough for an accusation. And haven't for once not noticed a huge amount of narcotics on me or other drugs as of now. But I think that's because they want me saying those things. It's in several other days more relevant things as well. And for the most weird days, when there are actual crimes being done to me, you see the sheer numbers of everybody else showing up around, which is very relevant because they're on an assault on the bus. You see that, remember the crazy guy in front of the mall who disappeared there? Stop underestimating us! You see the way that I handle when they throw something in the air anywhere and there's nowhere to run, shoot that. That's the evidence. And that's the real evidence, by the way. So, yeah. As I was saying, you see the way that I would handle when they threw torture drills on me. And there was nowhere to go but one feel pain that they were throwing. I mean, there was that drugstore that I entered and stopped feeling the pain there. And stop underestimating us. Jesus, I get it. You cannot have any expectation of you taking for what is worth. Just for the record, that's the millions of criminals saying that to the one person that they have been using for a long time. Now, perhaps they have a genius plan that they really think is going to stick. But for anything that is not trivially reputable through anyone having been born with gray matter in their skull instead of brown, I would say, yep, they're full of everybody else. Chance for everything. The whole, people have been killed by Chihuahua. But never zero, right? But I'll take my chances on they not doing that. Now that being said, that doesn't change the fact that they should the victim of the crime and they should run drugs on me all the time, dehumanizations, and all the other stuff. Right? So I just want you to appreciate it. And in Chip, as you saw, baby. No, you should listen. I don't doubt there might be people who thought that they were getting something different when they started joining this crime and not something that some DAs are gonna say, why the fuck are you saying this? Yeah, some of you guys may even think that that's the scapegoat, if you're surrounding an army, leave an alleyway open. But not really. It'll make a difference. They're not smart enough to see it, and honestly, as I said, it doesn't take. Those are combat strategies and have a level of equity. There is no hair in one person. The issue is the high care of justice. And I understand, I can see the scenario where someone could have thought they're bargaining for something different than you end up getting. This actually applies to even some core criminals. And I trust your judgment to go through this. Anyone with enough bravery and insight to investigate and locate the truth about this. I trust you have both the heart in the right place and you have a pretty good head on your shoulders to, at the very least, have a general basis to understand the difference between Nazis in 1945, concentration camp workers, it's better with this, in 1945 from people who generally had, at the very least, not, perhaps definitely not the best of ideas. For us, clearly the common was always there, but different galaxies, right? Talking about different galaxies. And again, you go. So I'm talking about individuals who see someone that, and I can see that here from this perspective of being drugged. So if you cannot see that from your cold mind perspective, fresh from outside and as an observer, you probably doing that in the wrong way. That's why faces. Again, I said before, it'd be much easier for me if I could just say it's all of them. Done. No need for high resolution, no need for anything else. Everything is for processing, uploads, for YouTube, for everything else. It'd be the daydream. The whole point consists that one person is not the other. That's the very premise that they're trying to apply to me. If you actually think on that for a couple of minutes, it's essentially the same thing. It's to plop up one person and decide that your life is over, there's nothing you can do about it. One person is not like the other. It takes a couple of jumps, but then they could apply to me too. And my point is, same thing for nationalities. In case you notice, I was born in this place, which is why I said so there's nothing to do with that either. Or race. Again, the laughable apart, the laughable aside, the when I go down to, right, it's important that they're trying to sell that as an agenda. That's relevant. That's true. So again, the very assumption that's the difference when it lies. Because when you're talking about someone become this person, you know it's innocent, you know it's not that because you're manufacturing something. So again, go ahead, try to convince the world that if you're trying to manufacture, you just innocently join in without knowing what you're doing. There are things about me, what, right? And it gets much worse than that, as I said before. Then what is the idea that they're gonna coerce me that to submit to this sub-slavery thing, or they accuse me of something that I never did. And I say, perhaps you find out that other people are not as easy to convince as you think. Hell, that sounds like something that they would say to me. Hell, the guy in front of me just chuckled at when I said, do you believe? And so at the end of the day, as I said, since I realized this crime, I've been fighting to expose this to everybody else. Never realized that everybody else would have to be this level of big. I left the city, then the state, then the country, and it always kept getting bigger. Now, I essentially live under the belief that now everybody else is better. And there's a difference between, that's what I'm saying. Make a mistake and be a part of this crime, that's for this. And I'm not looking to criminals, so imagine the ability to that. That's not the purpose. I'm talking to you because this is relevant. This is not a package thing. And it'd be even more shocking if it was, but also not portray me as the person that I am and I want to be remembered as, regardless of what is done to me, or not done for what it's worth. By the way, it's not the person I am. And the straightforward matter is, again, if it'd be everything much easier for me if not for that. The faces exist precisely because the drug criminals are not the same as the weirdos actually. That being said, they wouldn't be doing that. Not only did they know about the drugs, but they wouldn't be doing what they do if they didn't know, if they were not confident that those drugs were affecting me enough. That I wouldn't just be able to face that, report that shit. Anything from police station to report, even locally to certain degree. So, that's that. The animal cruelty, the other things. Dehumanizations have a fathomable, very material impact on me, in the way it affects my mind, in the way that affects everything else I'm doing. And they're clearly providing a very material game screening for the drugs, which is much like the other made up things to make up that I'm reacting to them, not reacting to the drugs. Except that from the evidence, you can clearly see that that's not the case because of both methods. One not the other not the one. All the intercalations you can make, you can clearly see how they are unrelated. But they hope that they're going to dampen the evidence and try to face it. But this is not technicality. This is not about preserving the evidence because a crime has been committed and that's enough. This is about the very human cost that you see through all this. On me, on her, on the other ones, and on my family. All that's left. And okay, so the same drugs that they're using here, they're using steroid. They're essentially the same group as far as it's concerned. Same thing applies to Buenos Aires. Actually, that's the thing. The same thing applies to the City of Thieves. I'm quite confident the same thing applies to Buenos Aires as well. Just that in here, there's when I got the full clarity of understanding They're the drugs, exactly the same drugs that have been used in myself for years. They have been used in me. I said myself that could cause confusion. They have been using that in me for years. I said myself in the sense that you say that that was the impact that I was doing, the impact on the things that I was doing back home. It's not just that this was used to cause the more direct things you saw, grandmother or father or whatever else, but for years, the same lingering drugs that they throw me over there Sundays, that I leave trying to do anything for most of the day, they threw back home. Plain and simple. And the what if I should comment on something? Give me a second, I'm not sure. That's my time to react. So, no criminals in front of me. I'm not 100% confident on that, but I'm fairly confident that they were reacting to things that I was saying, particularly towards now the end. Plus the ones you saw in the back. So, which by the way, that's very relevant. That's what we were saying. So I want you to appreciate the criminals reacting to the video or I'm reporting those things to you as I'm doing so. So we talked before about actions and actions, essentially criminal action for what they did today. That's what those individuals decided to do. And you say, oh, about faces. Yeah, but I'm not also sidetracking. This thing is staying pure for what it is and published immediately. And you can clearly see they are without proper identification, so you can just publish that immediately. And I cannot be wrong about the ones in the back. The ones in the back take this as a formal accusation, even if they don't fully see a face. That's a formal accusation. And the other ones, it's a bit more on the iffy side. I wouldn't want to identify if it was easy even. I wouldn't want to yet. I should have further confirmation. And I always do that. And pay attention to this. For what it's worth, as I said before, as Fire was reacting to, they said that in the video, same video about the same trial, saying that you didn't know how to use drugs. I never used drugs in my life, any drugs, any narcotics, any other things, period. Which, again, if you want to sound convincing, particularly sounding someone sitting down here fixing the phone straight vertically to me, in the ear, but I bet not actually important because again, the other foot is logically empty, but it's on the other side as well. But as I said, not enough to identification for this one yet. As for the, but as I was saying, the never in my life did I not the most appealing thing to say. If you actually want to sound more human, it's probably best to do to just pick something else. The fact is, probably not as a heavy drug user, but certainly not that. The issue is just happens to be the truth. Much like for the other things, it's so beautiful with other things they say about me. It just happens to not be true. And you can face that going back to the very beginning where I started doing this because I was doing the tags, which is I know that the joke, the thing, I just I think it's a reference to a movie of some historical figure. A beautiful one, just so. And they want this. Much like you're sitting commenting on me, and preserving this pure will be being uploaded. But suffice to say, there are enough signs of other criminals who's maintaining the very idea I just mentioned to you of consistent reactions to what I'm saying. Kind of speaks for itself. Also, notice me. This is me bouncing my leg. Should run that for experts as the rest. So, for the criminal who was with the phone vertically to me until he's sitting down, I actually have enough to identify that. I'm going to identify that in a minute. It's going to identify it for it. But for the rest, I'm referencing Same thing for Lucia. I'll translate that later when I do the proper fit. So, as I was saying, be alert to things around me. Bouncing is good word. Okay, so that's the piss in the shit. Funny enough, going from the other things that I mentioned, which go from the ridiculous to the absurd to the very material but not as humane, to this what is fourth? Third, technically, because I think the other ones to the other table as well, but that was very quick. There was someone behind me and that passing next to me. Anyway, from the guy behind me, which confirmed one, to the guy in the table in front of me, passing the baton to the person in front of me now. Both with the first and the latter um, confirmed as far as I know. To the other one, which is most likely the more good, the more humanly, at least aggravating aspect of that. Yeah, it changes the title. I want the title unchanged for now. When should we doing this the proper way? Which is another one. So, we change that to 0.6 as well. 1.6 as well. It's good. It's starting Monday. 1.6 free. 1.6 terabytes free. In this account, the other one we were down to I think 1. So essentially 1 terabyte a day. And the videos are very small. As you can see, something around like 2 megabytes. Those are the big ones. And I don't want to know if I'm going to die from the other ones just yet. So, yeah. I would actually like to look something else up. Oh my god. It's relevant. We don't have this uploaded already. Yeah, only now I remember screen recordings. It's a pretty big deal. Actually, I probably have ignored the message if not for the criminal in front of me. So you see, once again, the other role of the criminal is something you see actually surprisingly often, which is criminals doing things that actually explode in their face immediately. So, there's a place right in front of me. That's flimsy enough, but I don't care. So, as I was saying, the doing things that immediately tamper with the very file as it goes. And trying to concentrate. I'm not feeling any important. Let me describe this so you understand those drugs. Those are not inner drugs. I'm not feeling that. I'm not feeling any. Just feel like more than the other things. You're stuck between here and here. All of a sudden, same time the confusion, but no real feelings. Something else I actually can think quite properly. I don't think that the word drugs will be stopping flow. Either way, the other aspect of it, which is criminals doing things that end up playing out not in their best interest in the long run. Those being all this. The criminals in the back there looking behind as I accuse them of something and they stop talking, move on. The second you get you need to do casually this. Again, this. Imagine if it was a big action that was visible. Maybe, not that. So, there you go. Not a huge deal. But for the things they find me and I feel they're stuck in that. But that was not the only thing. I'm just saying that that's a sign of the other things being thrown. So for the criminal you saw passing by, that was sitting, decided to sit in front of me very artificially while having the phone fully vertical to me to the ear, kind of like this, as you see me do several other times, um, while sitting there, and then getting up and walk out. They they just said the whole thing about a very weird line about city. It's true. Maybe there's a stalker. So I would like you to know word by word. It said city, started de Foz do Iguaçu, Paraná, Brazil, something about Paraguay, which presumably right next to Paraguay. Specifically while staring at the camera and then stayed down with the phone like this while I kept talking to you. So, as I was talking to you, so now again, everybody knows I'm here, and nobody, it's not changing much. You know why? Because when you sit down, you point to the phone at me. So you don't need to hear me talk if you can see me. But the issue is, you wanted to pass this idea, right? So I propose to you, for someone who premeditated join a torture day, as you saw yesterday, bringing the family here with the friends to small children, forget friends, small children, to watch a man be abused. That's the type of bad decision. I cannot think. That's the fact. Now I got now. You see the effects of the drugs. Sample for you and test those ones. I never put the tape here. I think I put the tape inside. No, like that. And I don't want to sidetrack. So, continue what I was saying. But you notice the bouncing and the other things, and you see when the drugs are actually from, didn't you? As it goes. They had actually stopped being from. Not true.
Você não se incomoda?
You're gonna be listening to a lot of that. So, okay.